G'day, sports fans. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the SportsbyFry podcast. He's back. The triumphant return of JLo is upon us. I've been waiting for the big man to get back from Brisbane, and he and I sit down once again, as long-time listeners will know, with plenty of basketball talk, a little bit of intriguing stuff that we discussed, did a bit of a true and false, talk through some of the main headlines throughout the NBA. We got a lot of the season left to unfold, but there's a couple of things that we are both interested in. Long-time listeners will know that Big JLo loves to throw around a couple of hot takes and obscure lines, and there's definitely a lot of that. There's also a little bit of a lack of audio from his part at some times. The big man left his microphone at another abode, so apologies in advance for that, but you get all the bits that matter. He and I, like I said, talk through the NBA, talk through our fantasy lineups as well. A lot happening from an NFL and NBA landscape in the fantasy realms. And the Mt Rushmore, the topic was one of our best. It was a very tricky one to draft. We looked at some of the best AFL goals of all time, and this is going to go down to the wire. I reckon this is going to be another tight vote, so make sure you listen all the way through to get some fantastic audio at the end as we talk about the best footy goals ever. I've made you wait long enough. Here we go. Let's get into my chat with JLo. It has been a few weeks since I've been able to say this phrase, and I know the Sportsby fans are dying to know. How the bloody hell are you, JLo?
Yeah, I bet they're it's 2-week holiday in beautiful Queensland, which I was just thinking about this. I've always thought, oh man, fucking why does Josh Dunkley want to go there? Or, why does X, Y, and Z want to go to shithole Brisbane? Brisbane is pink. Like,
Yeah.
It was so lovely. I was like, oh, actually, fucking what? Where in the world would you want to be, mate? So, yeah, feeling good. Got some hot takes. Been watching a lot of basketball. So ready to talk it.
Did not leave your microphone in Brisbane, just to let the Sportsby fans know. There will be quality audio coming at you in the not too distant future, but we're just glad to have you back amongst the fans, mate. Like I said, a lot of the Sportsby faithful will be dying to hear your hot takes. You're not shy from just throwing barbs left, right, and centre. So before we go heavy into basketball, because there's not much footy shit to talk about, I did an article talking about like team needs and who your AFL club could target. I reckon we'll do that next week or closer to the draft. But how's the fantasy landscape looking? Because it's been a couple of weeks since we checked in.
Question.
NBA's obviously up and running now.
Yeah. Let me look. Haven't really been paying much attention. I think I've gone on a 3-game losing streak. Yep, 3-game losing streak in the NFL.
Fantastic.
No, I think I'll put a fair bit of that down to buys. So that's good. And in B-ball, God, I have no bloody idea how I'm going. Actually, not great. Joel Embiid's been hurting a fair bit. Jimmy Butler, Paul George should have thought about it. Actually, he's playing pretty well now, but he missed a few early. So Zach LaVine, shit. No wonder I'm doing shit. So
Mixed basket.
Yeah, that's it. I reckon from here on out I'm good. I feel really good about my roster. I don't know about you, but I do. There is like one or two guys I'm like looking to replace, but
yeah, there's not tons in a 12-team NBA league fantasy-wise that's left on the waiver wire. I think 12 teams almost perfect though, because you've got maybe those one or two little roster spots that you flick a couple of blokes in and out, depending on what you're chasing in a matchup. But it does kind of level the playing field, for lack of a better term. I think the best bloke probably on the waivers is someone like Malik Beasley, a couple of those type of characters. And like in the NFL, like there's 2 teams that are 6-3, one character who's 3-6, but the rest of the team is like a win separate. So like rolling into the weekend that just was, everyone was pretty much a game separated from each other. So it's nice and tight. Playoff spots are still up for grabs. I made a sneaky stash and put Deshaun Watson on my bench. I'm hoping that after his suspension, he rolls in and just clicks straight away with that Cleveland offense, because I've been relying on Kirk Cousins, who's been fine. But yeah, quarterback still continues to be my Achilles heel. NBA, same deal. Actually like how my team's looking. Not unhappy, but same. There's like two dudes or two roster spots that I just can't seem to nail. And there's no one really that's screaming at me off the waiver wire. Because we do categories, depending on what I need in a matchup, it does help me, chase a couple threes or rebounds or blocks or something like that. And I don't hate it, but yeah, there's still work to be done at JR Sativa. I've got the edge over Kiz right now, though, so hopefully I can hold on for another win.
Wonder how I'm going. I have no idea. Matchup. It's possible. I'm getting
right in the mix.
We'll get there.
I have quite passionately been trying to trade for one of the Cavs quartet, like Darius, Jared Allen, Donnie Mitchell. Absolutely, but Kyle's like, mate, it's not happening. Like, I'm not trading Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, yeah, I don't.
Yeah, he's playing that well. Yep, sorry, he's playing fantastic. Oh, Donnie Mitchell, Garland. You would want Garland at the moment?
I just need some assists. Yeah, I mean,
he
had a stinker today as well. Like, I think he had, I don't know, half a dozen or more assists, but he only scored like 6 points. So I'm like, oof. But
he shot 1 of 9. Yeah, weird.
A lot of mouths to feed in that Cavs offense. Let's talk Cavs and Nuggets, because they are the two favorite teams in the podcast. Who would have thought at the first time of recording after the NBA season's commenced, they have the same record right now. Cleveland and Denver both sitting 8-3. And I'm fucking jacked to see the Cavs actually, like, not just doing it flukily, even though I don't think that's a word. Doesn't look like it's an accident that they're having early success. They're getting handy contributions from other dudes like Dean Wade. Kevin Love's playing like good 6-man role. Karis LeVert's playing good to start the year, and we missed Garland for half these games. So I'm confident. I'm happy that the Cavs are balling. Didn't think they'd be balling like this. Have you watched much Cleveland basketball to date?
I have watched quite a bit of, couple of, maybe 4 games. Call it 4 games. I like what they're doing. I like the options that they have, and the way their offense is moving. I am buying it fully, just because of what Donnie Mitchell does. He sort of has given them a new weapon, and because of that, a lot of the offensive reads and sort of offensive sets that they're able to run are really good. And also, it's Evan Mobley, his like versatility and his like ability to slap is pretty important. So those two, plus good defense, good on the defensive end with the 2 twin towers. And do you reckon they need to shore up their perimeter defense a little bit? That would be their weakness in my eyes. Having not watched heaps of them. Where are you on that one?
I think that Cavs probably, I mean, I don't know what the front office was thinking, but I was hopeful that Isaac Okoro could just have a little bit of growth offensively so that he can be that 3-and-D dude. But when they were going up against a team like Boston, who have Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think both of the times we played them and it went to overtime, one of them kind of cooked us for 30 points. But a lot of the time it was like Evan Mobley was defending him. And like doing a solid job too.
Yeah.
Highlights his versatility like you were talking about. But yeah, I feel like Dean Wade's been actually surprisingly good defensively and offensively to start the year. But I'm like, do I really want him in a closing lineup? Call it in like game 3 of a Eastern Conference semifinals? Probably not. He's probably like your 8th man or your 9th man, someone that you can throw off the bench and give you a bit. Karis LeVert similarly has been good offensively, but like not great defensively. That's never really been his calling card. So I think that's probably the one glaring weakness if they did have one. But like I said, they just keep throwing Mobley at dudes. He was defending De'Aaron Fox for a big chunk of the second half today and doing fucking good as well. Like, he's elite. Yeah. He's so good to watch. I love having him on my team. But I'm like, what if, you go up against, let's call it the Bucks, because they are the cream of the East at the moment. You've got Middleton on the wings, and then you've got Giannis down low, and then you've even got someone like Drew Holiday. I'm like, well, you can't really use Evan Mobley like ping-ponging around between those guys. You need a couple of other dudes to step up. So, yeah, I don't even know who the 3-and-D guy that they could trade for is. Like, Jay Crowder was a name that was floating around in the off season, and I'm like, nah, I feel like he's a bit past it. It doesn't really fit our timeline. So they've got some chips that they could potentially move, and a couple of extra picks still. Like, we gave up most of them to get Donovan Mitchell, but they still got a few in their back pocket. So I feel like it's very similar actually to Fremantle's season last year. Like, we kind of burst out of the gate. The Dockers did kind of burst out of the gates. We're in the top 4, call it a quarter of the way through the season, and everyone's like, oh, like, we didn't see Freo being this good. And I don't think a lot of people, like, there were some people that believed in Cleveland taking a huge leap with Donovan Mitchell. But at the end of the day, I feel like we're playing with a bit of house money. Like, we've got to have a couple of playoff lumps first and get a bit more experience into those young dudes. Like, Mobley's only in his second year. He's like, 19 or 20. Jared Allen's not super old either. So I don't mind if they take a little while to kind of tinker and find that defensive wing guy. And in the worst case scenario, we just try and outscore a team. At the moment, the Cavs are the only team in the top 3 offensively and defensively, which surprised me.
Are you really defensively? That surprised me. But, Evan Mobley gives you a lot. I would have thought with Donnie Mitchell, who is like a legit, like, can witch's hat on defense, but maybe he must be working hard. He did look like he was putting in a bit more effort than I'm used to seeing from him. So
yeah, he has looked locked in and engaged. Like, he's not going to be someone that shuts down like a Ja Morant type, like an elite offensive point guard. But yeah, he was a couple of times against Boston where he was defending Tatum and like going all right. So yeah, I'm optimistic, which as a Cavs fan is a spot that I'm not used to being in. So the Nuggies, the 8-3 Nuggies started. Did they start 0-3? That's not right, is it?
No, we lost the first game. I think we started 2-1. Lost the first game to Utah though, and then lost to, I can't remember the other 2 losses, Portland and someone else.
Probably Utah
the
again.
Beat the Golden State game. No, we did beat them the second time round quite convincingly. So yeah, mate, I'm feeling very good. I would watch them today against Indiana, and I'll just pause the Nuggets talk to say, fuck, I like Indiana. I really love them. Like,
yeah,
they are such a cool, like, they're one of the coolest teams, like, passing the ball. Halliburton is an unbelievable player. The sort of shit I'm like, was not really expecting. I was like, oh yeah, he must like just get his assists by like absolute sheer ball dominance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, volume.
But man, he is such a cool player. He was talking mad shit. They were actually a bit funky, like early Phoenix Suns. But I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They were awesome. And Mathurin was just atomic in the first half. Like 23 points in the first half. I was like, fucking Jesus, he's not 50 yet. Yeah. But then I don't think he scored again. But anyway, they're pretty cool. But the Nuggies, we are rolling along, mate. We are rolling, I feel, like so confident, particularly after today's game, that we could, if this team stays fit, go all the way. Like, Jokic barely played because he was in foul trouble. But
yeah, I saw
we
that.
Still had like Aaron Gordon dominated. MPJ was pretty good. Murray's back, and he's playing like he's back. Bones, would drop 3 or 4 3-pointers. And the craziest stat is that Michael Porter Jr. is shooting 50% from 3-point range. He's only the third best, like, highest rated 3-point shooter on the team.
Really?
KCP,
who are the other 2?
KCP shooting like 52. And who was the other one? It might have been Bones. I can't quite remember who the third one was. But, like 3 blokes shooting 50% from 3. And, like, there's probably, I think we're leading the league in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. And we're just dominating. KCP on Bruce Brown just locking people up. I feel like we've got 3 elite defenders, and obviously we know what we can do on offense. So it is all coming together for the Nuggets. I was literally looking before this. I was like, when can we go and watch the Nuggets? Like, when is the Nuggets have game in Denver? Because obviously we don't want to go to Cleveland. It's a bit early in the year, but I did just like, I don't know if we want to miss this one. It's a pretty special time. So I feel good about Nuggets. That's my piece.
That would be a pretty cool matchup, being able to go and watch the Nugs and the Cavs in Denver too. Like, you're right. I've been to basketball in Cleveland. Love the Cavaliers. Don't love Cleveland though. So no.
No, I don't think anyone does. Yeah.
No strays meant to hit Cleveland this early in the podcast. But yeah, it's not exactly a spot that if you're a basketball fan, you're like, oh, I have to go and watch that. You want to watch the Cavs play, sure. But yeah. I'm sure we'll be able to make it work. Worst case scenario, we might just have to, when we go to the States, ping pong around a little bit and just watch both teams on the road. But yeah, I agree. I think I can't remember if it was a bold call or something we talked about in the preseason, but I think the Nuggets have the roster and the depth and the talent to win the West, to finish with the number 1 seed. I mean, you got to pick some pretty dominant teams like the Utah Jazz, who have the best record in the West right now. But yeah, I think Denver is going to be right there at the end of the season, if not in the finals representing the West. I think a West Finals appearance is on the cards. I haven't been able to watch tons of the Nuggies. I've started doing a lot of the League Pass condensed games and just watching either the possessions or just the 10-minute little clip of the game. So I've chewed through a bit of Nugs basketball, but do you reckon Jamal is starting to look like himself? I mean, it was obvious that he was going to take a bit of time coming back from that ACL tear, but do you reckon he's like 80% of the way there? Is he like closer to 90, 95? What do you reckon?
I reckon I would say he's back.
Okay.
To be honest. I think it was the Oklahoma City game. Yeah, that reverse dunk. He took over.
That was wicked.
And he does. He actually looked like better at stop-start than he was. It looks like he's added a lot because he was injured. He's added a lot of those like crafty moves around the bucket, like a lot more up and unders and fakes, and his post games come along a lot. His three's probably not there yet, but I mean that comes at any point. So I'd say he's back.
That'll take some time, right? Like we're only 10 games into the season. Call it 10. I think he's sat for a game or two. And you don't need him to shoulder like a huge load offensively right away. As long as he's firing and he can be that number 2 bloke when the playoffs hit, I guess that's all that really matters.
Yeah, bloody oath.
All right, sticking with basketball, going to play a little true and false game because, we could bounce around and just kind of look at the standings and talk about all 30 teams and where they sit. But over the course of the year, I'm sure every team will get their shine and we might do a miscast podcast where we talk about all the ones who haven't got any exposure yet. But let's go straight into the true or false, looking at the aforementioned Denver Nuggets. So do you reckon it's true or false Nikola Jokic will average a triple-double over the course of the season? At the moment, 21.2 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 9 assists. So he's right on the precipice. I think not too long ago, he had that rebound number cranked up a little bit more as well. But, he doesn't – I don't think he's going to win his 3rd MVP. But something like that, if he does go a triple-double across the season and the Nugs have the 1 seed, that'd be pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, I think he can do it. Whether or not I really think it'll happen, I'm not sure. But he could absolutely do it. He's definitely showing that he can do it. He's like leading triple doubles, leading the double doubles. Weirdly, a few of those are not with the rebounds. His rebounding has been off this year, and I don't know if that's Aaron Gordon and MPJ being there, and like Murray chews up a few rebounds. Don't know what it is. He's definitely, or maybe it's our defense. He's being a bit weird or something, but
maybe.
Yeah, you still back him to get the 10 rebounds. I honestly, yeah, I reckon as the offense continues to roll, like him and Murray get their two-man game going again, which is looking pretty good already. That gets them a lot of those sort of open rolls to the bucket that will then be kicked out to literally MPJ or KCP to 50% 3-point shooters. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty big. So I reckon yes. I'm gonna say it's happening. I'm saying it's happening, man.
I want to see it happen. And
Mm.
he obviously has the talent to do it. Like you said, he has the most triple doubles in the league at the moment and the most double doubles. I think the other night when he had a triple double, he also had 10 turnovers for the
Yeah, he
infamous
did.
unwanted
Yeah.
quad double via TOs. But
Yeah.
the one thing in the back of my mind is like when Russ did it for those couple of years, he like actively went out there stat padding. And Jokic, if he played, what's he playing? He's playing 31 minutes a game at the moment. If that was like at
Yeah.
35, 36, which it might be as the season progresses, but I think the Nuggets have their eyes clearly set on succeeding when May and June rolls around. So he's got the talent to do it. Will it happen? That's another story. But I feel like he's the biggest potential threat, maybe outside of Luka, to do it this year. Looking at the double-double numbers, there's a couple of interesting characters who are just behind Yoke in the double-double tally. You got Giannis, Jared Allen, no surprise, Nikola Vucevic, Tyrese Halliburton, who we've already sung his praises, throwing the dimes. But Isaiah Stewart out of Detroit is tied for second for
Oh
the most
yeah.
double-doubles in the league
Yeah.
right now.
There you bloody go. Well,
Interesting, eh?
that doesn't surprise me too much. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, the big boy, big chunky man.
good old beef stew. All right, sticking with
Yeah.
the faithful favourites at the pod. Another true or false. Cleveland can win the East. And I'm not talking number one seed. I'm talking they can be in the NBA Finals this year.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Have to get there's competition at the top, Boston and Milwaukee.
Mm.
I think they've got the defensive tools to handle Boston. No one has the tools to handle Giannis, but I would say they can just pull it off. And Donnie Mitchell's shown that he can go nuclear in a playoff series. That might be all it takes. But then they would fall to the Nuggets in the final. So either way, it doesn't matter, does it?
Mate, we found the answer. We don't need to worry about going to watch the Nugs and the Cavs in the regular season. We'll just wait till they make the fucking finals against each other. Sorted.
Yeah. That's pretty. That'd be nice. Fuck,
That would be fun.
wild, actually.
Yeah,
That
we'd have to get over there,
suck.
even if we didn't go to a game. I'm like, we just have to go like park up in Denver while the finals are on. Who are we kidding? If we're going that far, we're going to a game.
We're going to the game. We're going to the game. Sure. Yeah.
All right. Next, true or false? Steph Curry needs help. At the moment, his like individual counting stats are fucking nuts. He's averaging 32 points, 7 rebounds, call it 7 assists as well. But the Dubs are only 4 and 7. And I think I'm not too alarmed at their slow start from a long-term perspective of them challenging for the chip. I picked them to win the chip at the start of the season, but they don't look great. And there's a couple of things that I think play into that. But what do you reckon? Is it true or false that he needs some help?
What, offensively or defensively or just
I guess
generally?
let me reword it. Golden State needs to make a move to get Steph Curry more help.
Oh, no, I wouldn't have said so. I
Yeah.
think betting against these Warriors, they've got this. What is it? Spoil of riches? I don't know.
Yeah, that
A
sounds
wealth
right.
of riches. No, wealth of riches. I think they're fine. It is a slow start, but they're working some shit out and trying to bridge that gap between the young and the old and resting Clay. And I think they'll be okay. I think like we know what they can be at their best, and they're only ever one win away from that. Like one win where the ball is just popping and cruising. Like Steph is, and that's the other good thing. He's scoring really well. He's playing really well. So all it takes is one other person to come along. Have they had any injuries or anything, or are they just full clean bill of health at the moment?
No, they're fully firing, but Clay and Jordan Poole have had real slow starts to the year. Like I was looking at Poole's per games earlier, and he's shooting real average, like un-Jordan Poole-like numbers. Clay's slow start has
Mm,
been pretty well documented in the media as well. And I think Charles Barkley
yeah,
was the
okay.
one that said something, and Clay's like, dude, like, it's not even a year ago that I came back from an Achilles plus ACL tear and like went on that obvious run through the playoffs, but like I'm still
Mm,
figuring my shit out. I don't think he's the same defender as he once was, but that happens as a
no,
dude gets to
definitely
his
not.
like 30s, right? Like Curry's 34
Yeah,
and he's averaging, like I
yeah.
just said, 32, 7, and 7. So there's nothing stopping Clay from becoming a 20 point per game scorer as he gets his legs
Mm,
back under him and finds a bit more
mm,
consistency. I just wonder if you're right, bridging the gap between those young dudes like Kaminga, Moody coming into the lineup. Wiseman looks like he's almost like in his rookie season, clearly, because he hasn't played much
mm,
basketball. So there's a lot of that inexperience going around, but that's what the whole regular season's for, right? Is tinkering with your lineup,
mm.
finding what areas players succeed in, and then being able to deploy them when the playoffs roll around. Steve Kerr came out with a quote not too long ago that I talked about in the other podcast. And he was like, yeah, we were like nearly below 500 around All-Star break. I can't remember what year it was. He's like, yeah, and then we went on a charge and won the chip a couple of months later. He's like, it doesn't
Yeah,
matter what we're doing in
yeah.
November and January for that matter. So I agree with you. I think they're all right, but it does intrigue me because there's a lot of trade rumors that are starting to swirl. I'm like, maybe the Dubs could be someone that just makes a play at like, I don't know if Anthony Davis became available or call it Carl Anthony Towns, like something like that. Do you just go, all right, Draymond, Clay or Poole or whatever, you go out the door and we bring in another big dog like that?
I think they would have to mortgage their future if they were to do that.
Mm.
You wouldn't be able to just go Draymond Green. You would have to be Poole or
Mm.
Wiseman, which maybe is okay, but yeah, it would be mortgaging their future. I think the whole NBA at the moment is so weird.
Mm.
Utah's sitting top of the West, and teams we didn't expect to be there, kind of hanging around. And I think we probably just need to wait for them to burn out a little bit, and some shooting star that to burn out, but like people to come back to earth a bit.
Yeah.
It'll settle. It's been really tricky so far. So
Yeah. I think
I
there's
think
quite a
once
bit
that
of like,
happens,
yeah, I think there's quite a bit of like parity across the league now. Like you've seen Utah win and beat teams that we were like, oh, didn't see that
the
coming. And similar, like
Spurs were winning a lot.
yeah, like on
Yeah,
a nightly basis,
yeah.
the talent in the league's now so loaded that a team can just upset another team. And especially it's so perimeter orientated. If one team gets hot, it's like, all right, like we'll just chalk that up as a loss and move on. It's 80 games to go. So
Mm,
we'll call it
mm.
70 now. But yeah, speaking of the aforementioned succeeding Utah Jazz, do they need to make a trade?
Like, it depends what you mean. Like for a star, is that where we're
Nah,
talking,
so I mean, I'm thinking
or are they trying to
more,
lose? Is that
yeah, more the what's the word? The narrative that was surrounding them in the off season. Like, is it true or false that they need to kind of pull a trigger? Do they try and cash in Laurie Markkinen, who's balling? Do they send Mike Conley to a team that's going to be competing in, right at the pointy end of the season? Do they look at
well,
offloading Jordan Clarkson?
they've already won 10 games. Like
Mm-hmm.
that essentially fucks their chance at number one. To
A
be
little
honest,
bit,
like
yeah.
yeah, like I think they just need to. I think they need to keep a good thing going. This feels a little bit like what happened with the Nuggets when Melo played and they had their best, like they won a franchise record games, 57, and like finished with a third seed and only lost 3 games at home all year. Like, there's no reason to think Markkanen's not going to be doing this for the next 5+ years. You could get the same thing from Sexton or who am I missing? The players
Clarkson,
that are there.
Conley, yeah.
Yeah, man, he's a bit old, Clarkson and Conley, but like these guys might continue to do this. I think you keep it going, knowing that you've got a ton of draft capital anyway. Like
Yeah,
Danny
true.
Ainge has got them how many, like 7 and 8 first round picks from those two
Mm.
guys going out the door, whatever it was. So
Call it 8. Yeah, probably more with the
keep it
swaps.
rolling. Keep it rolling. I kind of like the narrative. If I was Utah, because number one's gone. they could do this next year maybe, but I think the 10 wins already in the bank has fucked them. So
They
you're
could.
gonna need what 18 wins is gonna
Mm,
be. They would literally have to win only 8 more games, which is, I mean, you could do it, but I don't see that happening.
the way the lottery's constructed now, though, you could see him like get the sixth worst, call it, record, and they could still get a top 2 pick. They could get Scoot Henderson or Wembanyama or something like that. But I kind of agree. I mean, it's just a weird hodgepodge cast of misfits who I went through the list the other day because I heard it on another NBA pod. Everyone on their team has either been like traded by the team that drafted them or they've been like cast aside. Like Mike Conley's a little bit different, but it's just this like real clunky mix of characters that have all just come together. Like, and the young dudes they've got are playing pretty good. Like, you could throw Talon Horton Tucker into that mix. Like, he could, I don't think he'll develop into an all-star, but he could be like a really handy role player. Walker Kessler, the bloke they got back in the Rudy Gobert trade, he looks like a really good big. Kelly Olynyk's playing like arguably the best ball of his career. So they've got dudes that are all playing like up here, and everyone keeps talking about, righto, like, well, now they've got to kind of like pull the chair and aim down again. And it's, yeah, I'm very torn between whether they should try and cash in some of those blokes that are playing well, or I'm kind of leaning more towards the side of, you know what, like this is building a really good foundation for whatever young pieces they do get in the future. I was talking to Jai DB about it. I think they've got like I know, the man,
You
the
were
myth.
talking to Jai DB?
Yeah, yeah. My once in every 6 months chat with Jai,
Yeah.
they almost have everything else other than like a franchise player. Like if Laurie Markkinen was your second best player, there'd be a bit of concern, but they got the depth. Like Conley's a really solid veteran. Clarkson's a scorer off the bench. He's starting now, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, they've got all the other pieces. So I like it. I do like it.
Yeah, and they're playing with a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah. Turning our attention towards the bottom of the Western Conference. The Lakers are currently 2-8, 2-9. I think they're 2-9 from memory. Yeah, 2-9, which, you know, we all thought that they were going to struggle. I don't know if I thought they were going to struggle this bad, but can they still be a play-in team? With the pieces they've got, are they still capable of getting up there to call it the 9th spot in the West? Or is it just shit's hit the fan and they should pretty much give up the 10th of the way through the season?
Oh man, I don't know. I wouldn't have thought they could make it, to be honest, from here.
I don't think so.
Not the way that Utah's played. Like, Utah wasn't doing what they're doing. Even Sacco's playing. They're playing plucky basketball. Oh, they got you guys today. Like, even Spurs are playing. I would say, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't mind the Russ off the bench thing. Like, seems to be working a bit better, but then I think they need those 3 guys playing together, playing well. Like that's the only way it works. Is if they all. I mean, Russ doesn't necessarily have to start for it to work, but they need to be playing and all 3 getting 25, 10, and maybe not 10 for AD, but you know, like they need 75, 25, and 25 every to win.
I mean, AD's looked really good defensively and looks locked in. And LeBron's had his ups and downs. They're still like the worst shooting team in the NBA. They're shooting less than 30% from 3.
Way.
Yeah. I think they've bridged the gap a little bit, but I think that's honestly the biggest concern for the rest of the roster. Like Russ is, you're right, making good players off the bench. AD's locked in defensively. You know what you're going to get night in, night out with LeBron. But the rest of their roster just really is uninspiring. I was watching pieces of the Clippers-Lakers game today. It's actually pretty cool. I think it was Amazon that was doing it. Anytime like a player had the ball, there was like a little percentage thing above their head, kind of showing what the percentage was for that player shooting from that spot. And it would alter depending on where the player moved around the court.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. And then like as they released it, it kind of like locked in. Yeah, it was sick.
Is that the thing that who's the owner of the Clippers?
Steve Ballmer.
Bulmer, yeah. Yeah, because I saw that the Clippers signed some like virtual reality deal. So I'm wondering if that's it. That's fucking
Must have
cool if
been.
it
Yeah,
is.
it was
Yeah.
it was really cool to watch. I only watched it for like 5 minutes at a time, but like LeBron would
Yeah.
change from like 31% as he's dribbling up the court, then it got to like it would tick up to like 36, and then he would shoot the ball and it
Hmm.
would like freeze and it would show his like percentage from that spot or the chance of it going in.
Oh,
So yeah, it's
that's
cool.
really cool.
So at least the
Don't
Lakers
know if I'd want that on every game. Like that might ruin the experience a
yeah,
little bit, but it's cool. Yeah, in little bursts. Yeah,
half a dozen times a year, something like that would be cool. But yeah, I think
yeah, yeah.
there's no miraculous trade out there that I think is going to save the Lakers. I think unless they kind of make some moves around the edges, get some shooters in the building. Like you said, the big three need to do most of the heavy lifting, and they probably
Mm.
will each night. But yeah, yuck. I think I agree. I think the Lakers are destined to finish in the bottom five in the West, and New Orleans has their pick this year. So that Anthony Davis trade's looking mighty fine for the Pelicans.
Oh, oh no, they can't even just be like, well, let's get Victor then. Oh
No,
shit!
no, I'm pretty sure it's a swap
Wow,
from memory. But yeah, they've obviously got like every Lakers pick that's not being dangled in a potential trade. So yeah, wolf,
wow. Okay. Oof. Okay.
not ideal. Couple more true and falses I want to throw at you before we get to a highly anticipated Mount Rushmore. True
Okay.
or false? Portland is a top 6 team in the West.
Okay. Let's run through them. You got the
So
Suns. You got
while
the
you're
Nuggets.
looking at the standings, just quickly,
Yeah.
I've got another little nugget for you because obviously we were out on their roster and their clunky fit. You had Dame steering the ship, but didn't like a lot out of that. Jeremy Grant hit a buzzer
Mm.
beating 3 the other day. He's been playing really well.
Yes.
We had to wait the longest period of time in 30 years before we saw a buzzer beater to commence the NBA season. 16 days was the
Wow.
longest in 30 years.
Wow. That's pretty crazy when you think about it. Is that your
And
use of sports by Friday stuff?
yep, I had a couple of other in my back
Yeah.
pocket, but I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, good
Yeah, let's
segue.
run through
Yeah,
them. Let's
okay.
run through them.
Phoenix number one. Denver definitely. I would put Memphis up there.
Me
I would
too.
put. Ooh, maybe they are. Right?
I know.
The West
It's,
is weird. Do we expect Golden State to climb back from this?
I think so. I think like I can't see them finishing in the play-in mix with like their roster at full health. You know, an injury obviously changes
Mm.
any of these teams, but I think they crack back in. So that's 4. A
Well,
couple of others
honestly,
around the mark.
Yeah, like Dallas, New Orleans, the Clippers. Fuck knows what's going on with them.
Mm.
Honestly, maybe they are. They're not like a lock for the top 6, but they're potentially a top 6.
I think
I
they are.
still, yeah, I would actually have to look at their roster a little bit again, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Well,
But
like I
yeah,
said,
but give us your takeaway.
we talked about them a bit in the preseason, the off season, and we were like, yeah, I don't know if I love what they're doing. But like
Hmm.
Ant Simons is looking like a really good number 2 next to Dame. Nurkic, as much as you and I don't love him, he's been solid for him. Josh Hart is a really underrated player. Shadon
Oh,
Sharp, their
Shaden
rookie,
Sharp, yeah.
it's also pretty good. So, you know, like, and they've done, call it half of this without Dame in the lineup. So I'm very,
Mm.
very optimistic for what Portland can do for the rest of this year. I'm glad I didn't hammer the under because I was sure that they were going to be a team that's maybe in the play-in and potentially look to blow it up by trading Dame. But I think instead they might even aim the other way and see if over the offseason they can bolster this roster.
I'm still not sure. I'm just not sold on their depth, which you could probably say the same thing for Dallas.
Mm.
I back New Orleans with depth in. I really like New Orleans. I think they're going to be like CJ's playing pretty average right now, and they're still sort of rolling along quite nicely. They have depth. Herb Jones been on, so I really like them. But I will go Portland. I'll put Portland on 6.
Yeah, okay. Ingram missed a bit
Don't
of
feel
time for
great
the
about it.
Pels as well. So there's teams in that
Mm.
mix that could quite easily bounce between, call it 5, 6, 7, 8. Like Minnesota's another one we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
I nearly made this call and wrote an article about a week into the season because I have a foot in one side of this camp very passionately. But is it true or false that Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns can't coexist.
So you text me the runner sheet for this, and I read that and immediately went, yes, because Cat can't coexist with anyone because he's useless. But then I had a little look at it, and I do happen to have their schedule up. They've played Phoenix twice.
Okay.
They lost to Utah in overtime in like a pretty close one.
Mm-hmm.
They played the Spurs 3 times already, but a plucky Spurs.
Yeah, that's weird.
They played Milwaukee. Like they've had a pretty, they've played like New York and they beat Houston. They've actually kind of won the games they should have, minus the Spurs game.
Yeah, okay.
And you know what? Then I went and had a little bit of a deeper dive. Looked at their box scores, and you know what it is? They literally are just figuring it out. They've had 10 games with these crew. They've got a bunch of players who aren't quick learners. In fact, some of the slowest learners in NBA history, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Towns. Don't know if Van Edwards is any better.
Just quickly,
did you see today? Better.
Did you see what happened today with D'Angelo Russell? Speaking of slow learners.
Nah, what happened?
There was a period of time where during a free throws they were making a sub. D'Angelo didn't check in. He was just standing at the scorer's table. The other bloke went out, and then they ran down the court, and it was a 5-on-4. And Chris Finch is like, what the fuck is going on? And D'Angelo's just like leaning on the scoreboard table, and then all of a sudden you see him just sprint in from the side of the camera as Phoenix hits like a wide open 3. I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Oh, man. Automatic win on Shaqting and Full. It's probably won it for the year, let's be honest.
Pretty much, eh?
But their box scores, like there's been times where Pat, I think today even, Pat shot like 6 times. And you're like, what the fuck? And there was one game Rudy Gobert took 1 shot. But today, and then there's games where Pat and Gobert don't shoot at all, and it's Ant Edwards and D'Angelo. And so their offense, Chris Finch probably has to get going, let's be honest. He had training camp. He knew this was happening. He's going really slow. And in fact, I would put him almost at the top of my list of coaches to potentially get fired. Because they've not got a clear, and I haven't watched any of them. So This is a grain of salt sort of thing. But you look at the box score, you look at the results, it doesn't seem like they know what the fuck's going on, any of them. And so I actually think that it can work. This is my long-winded way of saying it can work, but they just don't know what the fuck's happening to them. And they don't know what they're clear. But Denver knows it's get the ball to Jokic in the lower post or at the top of the key and then move off him. Like the Warriors know that it's like get Steph and play open, and that's going to open the rest of the game. Like most of these good teams understand their number 1 and 2 punches. I don't think Minnesota do. So I think they can work it out and they can coexist. Whether it will happen under Chris Finch or ever, I don't know, but it definitely can work, I think.
Look, I agree with most of what you said. You're right. It's a dozen games into the season. These dudes are and it's a very unique lineup as well, right? 2 traditional, real, like big men. Like it's not like one of them can play the 4 and it can still work because like they're 2 5s. So it's a clunky fit.
Cat doesn't reckon he's a 5.
Well, and I think the biggest
right.
reason why I disagree with it, and I think they can't coexist, is the same thing that you said at the start. It's because of Karl Anthony Towns. Like the first 2 games, I pretty much of their season, I watched almost the entire thing. And he was just like shooting 3s like 4 seconds into the shot clock, doing his dumb fouls, doing dumb turnovers. And I think maybe it's just me kind of trying to talk it into existence and hope that a trade does happen with Cat. But I think it'd be smarter for Minnesota to cash him in. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an incredibly offensively talented player, but he's just not a winner. Like, he's 7 years into his career now? Made a couple of All-Star appearances. We saw it last year in the playoffs as well. Yeah. Maybe more, you're right. Like, when they went up against Memphis, he was doing these boneheaded things. I think he had more fouls than field goals in that series. Like it's just, I just think it's a personnel clash rather than it is a player fit, if you know what I mean. But just because of who he is and the player he is, I don't think it's going to work. Granted, he's shooting like 50, 38, and 90 from the field, and it's probably going to be an all-star again. Close enough to,
looking for that, actually.
And probably going to, like I said, be right up there as an all-star in the East, the West, rather. But, yeah, I don't know. I feel
he's
like...
just so dumb. He's just so dumb.
He is.
Like, he's so talented, but he's just so shit. Like,
yeah.
And I can't stand him. So
that
I wish him all
we
the
can
best.
agree on.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I wish him all the best. But
yeah. Shout out to Karl Anthony Towns, you fucking loser.
He's like if J.R. Smith was really. Mate, what are you doing, man?
Yeah, that's a very good call. I can get around that. All right, last one.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about talented dudes. I want to steer your attention towards the MVP race. This week I dropped my first ladder check-in, just doing a lap around the association. Donnie Mitchell third, Nikola Jokic in the back half of the top 10, but slowly climbing his way up.
Yeah, I did read it. I read it.
It's true or false, there's a gap between the top two contenders. It's Luka and Giannis and then the rest of the field. Because I think through the early portion, you could maybe say that. And obviously there'll be, I think this time last year I had Jimmy Butler first or second. So the season does change
Steph
very quickly.
Yeah, you would have had true. Steph. We would have been saying there's clear daylight between Steph and the rest. And then what happened with that?
So. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, do you reckon that it's Luka / Giannis and the field? Or do you reckon, obviously, there's still 70 games to go and we need to pump the brakes?
I wouldn't even say there's a gap now. I would say Jason Tatum is well and truly in the race. And I would say Donnie Mitchell is well and truly in the race. And I'm probably missing someone. But they are...
Devin Booker?
No, he's not playing well enough. He's not playing well enough. And I'm not so sure I would have Luke. I think Lucas should be second, but I'm not like, he's dominating. He's clearly ahead of the rest. But I do need to put my Nikola Jokic goggles on and be like, record doesn't always matter. Like, if you're doing something incredible. But yeah, their record's not great. What are they, 6 and 5 or something? Like
ballpark.
They've got a lot of work to do. MVP Giannis, on the other hand, I reckon maybe it's clear daylight and then the rest.
Yeah, okay. That sounds more accurate. Yeah.
So if you're giving me those two on the field, I'd probably take the field at this point in the season with 70 games to go. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be probably an intelligent choice.
Yeah, Luka's doing some pretty crazy shit. I really am kind of like, if he wasn't so young, I would be circling Denver versus Dallas or Cleveland versus Dallas when we go over, because I'm like, let's get that guy in. But with that said, and this is a bit of a... do we need to finish this point?
No. Keep going.
I think the two guys that we need to see, I mean, I would like to see LeBron, so, is Steph and KD.
Yep.
Do you reckon they're the top two that we haven't seen that we need to go on? Particularly Steph.
I was just going to say, I think we have to watch Steph Curry play when we're over there. I think he's the one for me that we haven't ticked off the bucket list. I could take or leave KD, I'll be honest. I want to watch him play, and if we're going all that way, I'd want to squash it in, but maybe I just don't want to watch Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's probably a top 15 player, top 20 player.
Yep. Yep. I can't really argue with that. So
I think you got to try and watch those guys weekend. That would be a good Mt Rushmore. Which current NBA players, if you haven't watched any NBA players ever play in person, what's the order?
Hey, we might be able to put that one in the back pocket, and that is a fantastic segue into this week's Mt Rushmore. Can you remember the last one we did?
No, I can't really.
It was prior to the NBA season starting. We did blokes that could be potentially first-time All-Stars.
Oh yeah. How'd that one go?
Yeah, it was all right. You won.
Oh, good. The McCollum one might have got you there, but then he's actually playing like shit right now. So yeah, I feel good about that.
Taking
Okay,
Jamal
good.
early kind of shot me in the foot, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, Halliburton and Edwards is W. So,
Yeah.
okay, cool. All right, so you get the first one. It's gonna be quite a fun one, I think.
Yeah, I thought you're back on the pod. It's been, call it 3 weeks. It feels like yonks, but it's been a while since we've sat down and done a Mount Rushmore. So let's go big. Let's pick a cool topic.
Let's go big.
We're in the doldrums of the AFL off season, but we're going to go back to footy, and we are drafting today the best AFL goals of all time, ever, period. And context will be interesting here because, you know, there's been some unreal moments and like the goals were significant because of what happened in the game and what the outcome from that kick. There's been some unreal snags as well that were like individual feats of brilliance. So I'm interested to see how our draft boards shake out.
Well, let's get going then, mate. Hurry up.
I'm taking Dom Sheed's kick first overall, and I don't think that there's any other way that I can leave that on the board. I mean, I did me draft board, and there's a couple here that I was like, oh, maybe I should change that order, but I never didn't consider having Dom Sheed's goal first. So unfortunately, I'm taking that one off the board.
That's a pretty nice safe. It mightn't necessarily be the one that people are. To be honest, I don't think it's the number one goal of all time, but
okay,
pretty fucking good. Like it's just a nice safe one. Everyone would be like, oh, that's a good list because it's on. So okay, well, okay, maybe that. Yeah, all right. I'm gonna have to go with a tactic. So I'm gonna go ahead and take. I think maybe the best like individual brilliant goal. I'm gonna take Buddy Franklin's run on Essendon, right? For a 6'5" bloke that cannot do that, and like I can't remember where it was in the game. I feel like it might have been a reasonably important.
It was late, yeah.
Yeah, and then he runs all the way to the pocket, puts it on his left in like shape that like only Buddy Franklin can. I'm going to take that one because again, it's a nice, safe, bankable one. I actually think the end of this list is where it can be won or lost.
Yeah,
not early. So I'll put one in the bank.
Good choice. Yeah. That was second on my board, so you know,
that's good.
Can't really argue there. Runs like deeper into the pocket just as he's about to kick it as well. Yeah,
no. Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah.
All right, this one, the 3 and the 4 was tricky because I've got these 2 right here, and I'm tossing up which one I want to go with. But I think I'm going to stick to me draft board, and I'm going to draft the one that I've got listed at 3rd. It's Jason Ackermanis in the wet, in the pocket at Skilled Stadium, 2005. He's just he's just kicked a pretty good goal before that, and then tops it by just from like that far inbounds.
That was a good one. That was really good.
So I'm going Acker's goal.
Okay, well done. And by the way, I forgot to do the research for this. So I've been watching YouTube while we've been doing the podcast. If there's ever times I've been a little bit shaky, that's why. Perfect. On mute. All right. Well, I'm going to go probably the greatest like not the greatest goal kicker of all time, but like special goal kicker of all time. I'm going to grab it, Eddie Betts. I'm going to go the one against GWS, very like sort of just low on the ground. That's that's. I think that might be the greatest goal of all time. Like,
that's my favorite Eddie goal, which is saying something.
I think that's like maybe my favorite goal of all time. Like Dom Sheed, obviously, but I think that's like the coolest one of all time. So I'm going to take Eddie on the boundary line, just keeping it in. You know that one.
I'm very interested to see how many Eddie Betts goals finish in this Mount Rushmore, because we could probably just do an Eddie Betts edition. Let's be honest.
Well, we probably should have like actually done that first. But anyway, they can both. They can the all-time one. I would like to do an all-time Eddie Betts.
Put it in the chamber. Okay.
Chamber.
That was my 5th one on the board. So number 4 is still sitting there, and I will take it now.
Hey.
It's not one that, it kind of gets lost a little bit as an actual like the goal. But like I said, I think the story that it's linked to and everything that happened in that game makes this unbelievable. It's Nick Davis's game-winning one in the semi, 2005. Yeah, 2005. It was his fourth of the quarter, wins the game. Literally, the ball goes to the middle, it's thrown up, and then Cam Mooney's just like, fuck, like, we missed out. And send Sydney the first grandy they've been doing, I don't know, call it 3 decades, probably longer. So, yeah, I'm taking Nick Davis's.
West Coast wins that year. Not Nick Davis.
Very true.
We would have beaten Geelong. We would have given Geelong that there. So, yeah.
So I'm taking Nick Davis really with me third pick.
That was on my list. But I'm pretty happy about you taking that because I probably wouldn't have. I maybe would have picked it with my last pick if it was still there, but I didn't think it would get there. I'm going to pick another one of those. In fact, this might be like the goal with the most folklore around it. I'm going to go, and it's a moment of the game, but also it is fucking off the chart. What he does. It's Malcolm Blythe from 80 after the sign. Isn't it a prelim final or some shit? Like
I thought it was because I actually have this on my list. Nah, it was like during the season in 76. But they were down by like 3 goals. He then kicked a couple to like put them right in the mix, and then straight out of the center takes that mark where he does.
Huge. And that just keeps going. Like I thought about Dustin Fletcher's one where it goes like 80 meters, but this one goes just as far after the siren, and it's literally one of those footy folklore moments that they've been on those stupid ads with those 2 blokes doing them.
The footy legends or whatever they are.
Yeah, whatever those were. So let's lock in Malcolm.
Great choice on my board, and now I'm stuck. Because I'm tossing up between 2, and one of them's an Eddie Betts goal, and I really want to have an Eddie Betts goal on my list.
Yeah, you almost can't not.
I know I feel criminal because I don't think I'm going to take an Eddie Betts goal. I think instead I'm going to take Daniel Wells' karate kick out of midair.
Yeah, pretty iconic. Yeah.
Just like so unique. Like you've seen blokes soccer the ball and kick it out of midair. I've never, and that was like a ruck contest as well at the top of the square.
Yeah.
The good old third man up rules.
Clock. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I had a look. It was like under 2 minutes. There's a goal in the game, and he's just like, douche. Yeah. And you're like, all right, game over.
Okay.
So it pains me to not have an Eddie Betts goal, but it goes against Freo, but I fucking loved that Danny Wells highlight for years. Still do.
It was a good goal. I do feel like it's slightly overrated because, like, if it was at an angle, it's literally like in the goal square, like, or pretty close to it.
Yeah,
I've always thought that was a slightly overrated goal. To the point it was as I was watching. There's a whole lot of like really high. It finished the high on a lot of the videos I was watching.
Yeah,
it just never did it for me. So that gives me a lot of options. This is the last pick. Okay, so. I'm thinking about a couple. I kind of really want a Leon Davis goal in, and the one he kicked against, I believe it was you, bloke.
Freo on the receiving end of a lot of these goals, eh?
I think he tackled like Des Headland or someone and went out to the boundary. And he just like took his time, and you could see him winding up and just pinged it. Yeah, that's definitely on the list. Still, Rioli's kicked a couple of beauties. He had that one where he like broke 3 tackles and turned around and got the handball done. Tempted to go that one. The other one I would have considered, I think I'm not going to take though, is the Brad Johnson one out of the air, like from the pocket. And it's like, I think he's got a whole lot of years back when that's where it like really skipped that goal. I think I'm going to take another Buddy Franklin one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. And you could take his 1,000th goal. You could take his 100th goal. That actually
That's actually a really good point. I didn't consider either of them. They're not even on my board, but that would make a very smart pick.
Yeah. especially that last one because of the crowd.
Relentless.
Legitimately one of the great sporting moments I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah.
That Usain Bolt breaking the world record, those things. But I'm going to go Buddy Franklin another time. Because we could probably do a Buddy Franklin list actually as well. But I'm going to take him playing for Hawthorn, gets it bursting through the middle, literally just like hurdles the bloke, lands immediately from like 80, just goes bang. And it was one of those ones where it did bounce. It wasn't an 80-meter kick. But just the action and like the flow, I fucking love that. I think the hurdle did it for me.
Yeah.
Plus it was fucking 80-meter goal. So, yeah.
13 seconds from kick out to the middle of the ground. Buddy gets it, hurdles, bang, goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pretty special. Yeah. So I'll take that one. But boy, there was a lot we missed. A lot of those like great running, bouncing ones that we've missed. I thought Caleb Sarong one like deserved a bit of
pretty good, eh?
I thought.
When I think of running bounce
Coast.
goals, there's like a lot of those old, I don't know, like 80s or 90s era.
There's the crazy old one when like 50s like waving around and like literally bounces to 20 meters out and kicks it. Yeah, the McGuan, I think he's saying.
Not Mark Miranda. Who was it? There was Mark.
I think it was
McGuan. Yeah.
McGuan.
Daniel Kerr's one was on my list. The one in the Derby as well. Good. Speaking of running, bouncing goals, James Hurd's match winner also on my list. I really wanted to take Eddie Betts's left foot torp against Freo.
Yeah. That was cool.
Like I've still got a little bit of regret. Like I should have taken that third and then decided between Davis and Danny Wells. But I've got to stick to the draft board. Can't panic. Gary Ablett kicked some good ones as well. His one when he's playing for Gold Coast and he's kind of like running towards the 50 and the boundary line and like snaps it from 50 essentially. We could do another 3 of these and still have leftovers, I reckon.
I was like typing away trying to find because I feel like in my mind Shea Bolton picked one this year that was just a dreamer, but I can't remember. Like, I feel like he ended up.
It's not springing to mind, but
Anyway, well, I feel good about both lists. I could go either way. Maybe I was a bit heavy on the Lance Franklin.
Nah, I don't think you can go too heavy on one player. Like you said, we could have done just a Buddy one. We could have done just a fucking Eddie Betts one. So
probably should have literally just been like, I'm loading up on Eddie. I'm taking all 4 Eddie.
All 4 Eddies. Yeah, that's actually a good goal.
Yeah, probably would have won.
We'll put it to the.
Probably would have won.
You probably would have actually. People would look at the graphic and be like, "Nice, yeah, awesome."
I see what he did there. Yeah, no.
Well, we'll have to potentially put that on the back burner for another future Mt Rushmore. We might go back to basketball next week. We might stay footy. We might look at with the draft coming up, like the best draft sleepers of all time, something like that. You know, we got options. We got options.
Yeah.
All right, mate. You've got a Black Panther screening to get to. I've got a bowl of butter chicken to eat. So.
Who's having a better night? You tell me.
I don't know. Well, actually, I know. It's me. Great to have you back on the airwaves. I'm sure the SportsbyFry fans will be very appreciative of you sitting down and joining. And I reckon because we're back on, we may as well do it again next week.
Oh, next week it'll be the SportsbyFry studio, mate.
Think about that. That's dangerous. Yeah. That's dangerous.
Pending your movements, I was thinking about it. I think this might be in the sport studio. So
it might have to be.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make it. Yeah, let's. Yep. You know, we've committed to it now. You've got it. Can't take it back. Right?
Multiple microphones and all.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, mate. Cheers. Always appreciated. We'll do it again next week.
Go the Sharkies.
Up the Sharkies.